here. So, hello, and welcome to another in my series of conversations. My name is John Cornicello, and I'm going live on Mondays and Thursdays at 10 Pacific and 1 Eastern. Today, my guest is fine art portrait photographer Corinne Alavekios. Corinne is an award-winning portrait and wedding photographer with an international following and reputation. She's also a speaker and educator, and I'm sure we're going to all get a lot out of the conversation today. So please let me introduce to you Corinne Alavekios.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Boy, I woke up early this morning and I thought, I've got to rip some prints off the printer. I didn't get to it last night. So I've been down in my production studio printing, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's after 10 o'clock. Oh no. So anyways, here I am. Please maybe start by asking me a question.
Yeah, well, I guess the big question is the pandemic situation and how is it affecting you in the business?
Oh, well, the good news is I'm the type of personality that I could be left alone on my property in a rural setting for an awful long time and not run into people and be content in my soul because I get very creative. I turn on the news and I just get a little terrified and confused.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, everyone was watching the news, correct? We had to learn how to deal with this. And so I got ready for the months ahead, like everyone else was shopping. I'm a European by nature, so we shop every day for our food and eat fresh. That was a very odd feeling to stock up a freezer. Thank God my best friend from 4 years old lives down the street from me. But no, we prepared, and I'm most creative when life is difficult or life is kind of on a high. I don't know. The mediocre is hard for me. I thrive in kind of dramatic situations. So the first part of the pandemic, I felt numb, like probably many of you did. And then all the visuals started coming as I tuned everything out and we live rural in a beautiful natural area. It's just gorgeous. We're surrounded by 800 acres, I believe, and a stream right below us. And we have a large property here. And I called my clients and said, we're not going to be photographing, until things settle down. And then I'm like, well, what am I going to photograph? And I thought, I've never done self-portraits. And I thought, well, I'm going to do some self-portraits. And so I did it in the most simple way that I could. And that's kind of what you're looking at behind me. I just did a small series, and actually these were all taken a day after a migraine. So I looked awful. My eyes were crooked. But I didn't care. I was like, I have got to create or I'm going to dry out. And I started, in this one project kind of kicked off several others. I started doing some florals with weeds, like wildflowers and sticker bushes and thistles. Because I feel like when I look back on those, that they were painful to make, because every time they prick you, they have like a little venom and your hands hurt for a week. And they were difficult to make because they wither and fall apart immediately.
Here, I'm going to share the flower.
Now, the color palette on this bothers me a little bit because I mixed primary colors with pastels, but I didn't care. It started with the cherries. Our cherry tree started having cherries, and I'm like, ooh, that red is so beautiful. And as I walked up on our property to get those cherries, I just looked around me and found things that would be beautiful, just pretty, and I put them in a basket and brought them in the house and started designing. And the composition was coming together. The color palette, it's I would never put primary colors with pastels, but I did, and I love it. It means something to me. But yeah, that one hurts. There's a thistle in the middle, and there's blackberry vines down here. And but yeah, that was one of my, that was the first floral I've ever done.
Yeah, and for people that are new to these conversations, you can feel free to unmute and ask questions or make comments or put
Please.
stuff in the chat. It's very interactive.
Right. That's what I'm good at. I'm really good at questions and just in a conversation.
Yeah. So your husband, Steven's also a photographer and educator. Do you collaborate on a lot of your jobs or you do separate projects?
He's so funny. He keeps telling me he's retired. He goes, I'm retired. I'm retired. But then he goes out and photographs and kind of does his own thing. And he really loves doing landscapes right now. And we're so busy building on our property and remodeling, building a new studio up on the hill. We're about to sign a lease on a large studio in the Bay Area. Kind of holding my breath on that. I'm just waiting to see if that's the right thing to do. We're also considering moving to Provence next September for a while. We have a home in Europe, and it's like would like to spend a little time there, but we can't even travel there right now. So yeah, right now he's just working hard physically on the property and the house. And the other, we have a couple houses on this property. But no, it's pretty much when I do something, I wake up, it's in my mind, and I put my overalls on or my little slip dress and head out and start picking the things I need for the scene, and then just start creating. When you go to if you go to the images of the figure studies,
let's see.
Maybe zoom back a little bit on it. I sent you a file. Yeah. I'm sorry. Otherwise, you're going to see my breast right there. Can you believe I'm showing myself naked on? Oh, well. And it meant something. These mean something to me.
Have you done a lot of self-portraits over the years, or is this a new thing for you?
I've done none. Wow. Only if I've needed a quick headshot bio.
Sure.
Like a snapshot. Actually, this session here, like I said, I had just had a terrible migraine the day before. So I woke up feeling just awful on this morning. And I thought, I have got to do something creative, or today I just have to do something creative. This was probably 3 weeks ago. So actually what it did was I woke up and, I had the troll dew on my hair. Well, I let it out, and I hadn't washed my hair in 2 days, and I let it out, and I had a good hair day. And I was like, now's the time to do it, because, I had slept on it and it dried in those curls.
Wow, that's very, very powerful.
That's a beautiful image. Can I ask on that last one? Well, this one also, your background is gorgeous. Also, is that just a backdrop that you use, or but
this wall, this ugly white wall, and it was this home was, so this is my childhood home that I grew up in. We homesteaded on this road. It's about 2.5 miles long. We homesteaded on it, and this is our third home on the road. Our original home, my brother passed away when I was 11 years old. And so my parents, we couldn't live in the farmhouse that we were there because it was so sad. So my parents built this in 76. But it has this, you see this texture on it? It photographs terrible. I hate it. So I kind of masked in, let's see. There's probably 5 different layers of different images to build that.
Okay.
So I think I started with, I was pretty easy to clean up. I didn't even really retouch me. I mean, my arms a teeny bit, and my hand, it was just this light, just like this. And my camera was very close to me. And that was a 24-70 200 lens, which I don't usually shoot with, but I have to in this short area. And I just kind of did a natural, pose. I arched my back and let my hair fall down my back. And then I brought it into Photoshop and I'm like, oh, I hate that background. So I think I just blurred it, did a surface blur on, just cranked it both ways and blurred the background. And then I brought in, I take my own photographs for textures of concrete walls and things like that. And my textures are pulled back, so they're fine. They're not close up like a lot of people will use textures that are close up of a stone. I pull back so my textures are more creamy and dreamy. So
and so you're just using natural light also? You said, is there a large window? Okay.
yes, right here there's a large window.
I think you should do more self-portraits. That's gorgeous.
So that's the windows. And I keep this as my, that's all my wax and paints over there.
So you do a lot of encaustic still?
I do. And then if you go down those stairs, it's my printing room. I can take you on a tour. I mean, kind of fun. Let's see. So no, and then we used to live up in the mountains in Cle Elum, and we have these most beautiful, dramatic skies. Well, we do here too, the clouds. It's just like you're in Tuscany. And so I love using those. And sometimes I think that I used on full capacity on normal mode.
Bring it back on the screen again.
Yeah. So I didn't even use a blending mode on that. I used normal, dialed it down a little bit, sandwiched it between two textures, or more than that. 5 different textures. I had a waxy golden texture, a stone, and then you just kind of mask and paint.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Thank you. And then the hair was a little difficult to get correct down here on my back. And so I had to select and then put it in a different blending mode. I think I played with different blending modes so that the white would kind of be see-through, but the hair would be, separated. I don't composite a lot. I mean, I know how and I can. I don't know. I like to get it real. I'm kind of the girl that likes to get it in the camera from the get-go.
Yeah.
So this was really simple. So on these, I shoot with a Canon D or 1DX. D1X3 or 2, I guess. And the timer is either 2 seconds or 10 seconds. And neither is enough time to zoom back and get in place. So I had it on a tripod and I kind of shot from a low position. There's Stephen. Hi. And I had Stephen I called Stephen. I go, Stephen, please come up and help me. And so he came and he actually photographed these. Wait, you can come over here. I should cut that.
Yeah, I can cut it.
Oh, there he is. Hi.
Hey, Stephen.
There's my
Hey. Howdy.
It's been a while.
I know, it's been too long.
You want me to cut?
The one time I was on Creative Live in the beginning. Remember New York?
Yes.
And that was so much fun. Yeah, go ahead and cut it.
And then we did a show at your house with the dogs.
That's right, with Vicky and Jed. I love them. And my puppies. And I'm surprised Hubble was so quiet. Hubble is my Peter Pan. He was one of the puppies we kept. And Brinkley and Huntley.
I think they're duplicates.
They're all fine. No, just if you cut them, that'd be great.
Okay.
So, what were we talking about?
We're talking about your portraits, your self-portraits here.
Well, so yes, there was no thought into them. I just, it kind of started like the cherries were in the floral were kind of what got me out of bed to make that image. When I woke up this morning not feeling good, and I've been kind of not feeling good for, I don't know, a few days coming on, I'm like, I am doing something today, and I'm going upstairs and photographing. So I had this long nightie I'd found, or cotton thing when I was in Europe, and I put it on and it kept falling off, and Stephen said, it looks beautiful off the shoulders, just leave it. And so he took like 10 photographs of Brinkley and I. He just joined the session. My dog's free roam, and he came in and wouldn't leave my side. So compositionally, this isn't quite perfect. The 24 to 70 kind of distorts,
Yeah, you're in too close.
yeah, and it's, that bothers me. But you know what? This image will mean a lot to me. My dog is 10 and a half and he's healthy right now. But Brinkley he goes everywhere with me. He's at him and Steven, and this portrait will mean a lot to me through the day. My favorite part of this image is my hand. Hands are so important to me in an image. It's just important to me. And look at the light on both of my hands, reaching out to him. I wish his head was in a little different position, but
So where was this image made? In the same location or?
right here on this ugly wall. And again, those are textures
Sure.
that I used, and in blending modes. Usually I don't like a halo that goes around me, like the outside.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, the light was shining past me because I don't ever photograph right against the background. I pull myself out as far as I can. So the light was passing by me and hitting behind the chair. And I like how that kind of brought me forward a little bit. So I was careful when I put those overlays and textures on that I let that light be behind me to separate me from the background.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
How many different layers are in this image and the previous ones that we saw? Approximately how many different layers?
Probably about 13 to 15.
Really?
That's about my 13 to 15, but I'm pretty quick at them. And then I mask. And so what I tend to do is so I'll put on the textures. That's how I get my painterly feeling. And then I'll go back to my original retouched background picture of, say, my face. And I know you can't see me pointing at it. So I should grab one of these. And I will take a lasso tool and grab part of my face and feather it, like 75. And then I'll take it from that back, and go apple key J, make a little thing of it or copy of it, slide it to the top of all the textures and layers, drop it, and then pull the opacity down to bring the original photograph back up to the top so that I'm not all muddied underneath all the layers that I'm doing. That's a lot of layers. So I figured that one out, gosh, I don't know, in the beginning, because I was like, I love the textures and the layers, but I don't want to lose all the shadow detail that contours our face, and I don't want to muddy the things that are important to me. So I select them, bring them forward, lay them on top of everything, and then pull back the opacity a little bit. Whereas some people will mask off the texture, but then you'll lose the warming tone and you can't quite control it as much. And then I might sharpen that, make 2 copies of that apple key J, that little selection. And one of them I will do midtones, sharpen. You can look that up on, it's a Matt Holberg thing. I have an action for it I created, and I'm sponsored with Epson, and Dano, my friend at Epson, one time just cracked up because he goes, "You made an action of the midtones thing? How in the heck did you do that? It's like 30 things you have to do, and you have to put these little arrows up in that." And I went, And that was back in the day when I kind of self-taught. And when someone tells you something's hard, you might not try it. But no one was telling me things were hard, so I would do it, and there it is. So I have that mid-tone action, and then I sharpen my images in high pass, like probably most of you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of sharpen and do things on the print, before sending it to the printer to pull it forward. I also like to go in and I will select areas and go into channels or levels in channels, pick like the blue channel, and squish the arrows together to make things too contrasty, and then pull it forward and mask so that people ask me, my fabrics get real, you can really see the folds, and I love seeing extra detail and shadowing in fabric that drapes.
Do you have a favorite paper that you print on?
Oh goodness. Epson's new Legacy etching
Mm-hmm.
and the Platine, wait, how do you say it? BAT, you know the one.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Baraya,
Baraya, that one.
great, Burita.
Yeah, this here is all exhibition canvas because it was loaded and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen brought these up for me. So the canvas was on and ready to go this morning, so we just did it. And it's kind of easy to handle. But like this one, so the sky, again, this, as I was reaching up my feeling, I was feeling in myself. I play beautiful classical music while I'm photographing. And on this day, I'd used the music from Out of Africa and English Patient, which are both kind of, depth of character, a lot of, they go through hardship in that. And that's what time we're in.
Memories from them too.
So, yeah, we have great memories from them. And so what was important to me was reaching up through this hard time, and I wanted, the hands were very important to me, and I felt like I was reaching through the sky, like I was actually in the sky,
Mm-hmm.
reaching through it, like this will come to an end. This is just a storm that we're in right now. And I'm just exposing myself to the storm, and bearing myself and trusting that we're going to get through it okay. And
Yeah, because I kind of think of you as a kind of modest person.
I am. Yeah. When Stephen actually photographed these, and it was so much easier without the cloth on because the cloth was getting in the way. I had no idea I was going to show them online, but
She's not that modest.
Oh, okay.
yeah, when it's hot, I run around. There's the portrait.
I wanted to ask you, I've always wanted to get into the textures and all of the different, what do you call them, modes,
Blending modes.
Yes, the blending modes and all, and I don't do that enough. It's just one of those things you have to start. Pardon me?
Where are you? Is this Melissa speaking to me?
No, it's Cindy. Can you see me or hear me?
I want to see Cindy. Where's Cindy?
Cindy's, she doesn't have a camera on.
I'm in a
okay.
restaurant.
Okay.
I'm in a restaurant right now, the one that's open. But I just needed a break for a minute. But the blending modes and all of that, are there any people that do classes on? I mean, I just need to go and take some of my work and just sit for days and do that and
I
write.
do. That's what my classes are all about. So, and I am going to start my workshops back. I learned them all on my own. No one taught me. I learned it. Your Vaughn years ago showed me this one technique about color fill. I mean, I'm talking 20 years ago. And it was before blending modes. Oh, I have an artist. We spend a lot of time in France, in Provence, in Saint Remy. And one of my friends, Camille Vognar, is that where I first stumbled upon?
Well, I'm going to sign up when you do it, because if I don't go away to do it, I don't do it. I can't, I get too distracted.
So say that one more time, Cindy.
If I don't go away to practice something, like get out of my studio, or I don't focus and do it. So I will go away. I will sign up when all of this is over and you can go somewhere.
Now, where do you live at? What area?
I'm in South Carolina, so I'm nowhere close to anybody probably.
I'm just going to open an image today. Just open an image. Take a photograph of a cement wall, but pull it back a little bit, okay? And it doesn't even matter if it's in focus or anything. And try and keep it around 18% gray. And
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, so open up your image of what you would like to put a texture on top of, okay? This is your assignment for today. And so you open up your portrait or your people photograph, what you want to put it on. open up your texture that you just took a photograph of. Okay? And
Right.
then you're gonna hit the V, if your Apple, hit the V tool, or anyway, just drag that image on top of your main photograph, your background image. Do you understand that?
Right.
Okay. Now you go over to the little tool section in Photoshop and it will say mode. And you can Google this and just it will say blending mode and it will be set on normal. Well, make sure that top image is highlighted and put it on soft light will be your probably first try that it would look pretty. That's a blending mode. And then you
Well, I've played with all of these. It's just that I am not proficient at it, so I don't use them because I don't do something until I feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you
And
just play. Yes.
I need to keep playing, yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's just play with the blending modes of overlay and soft light most of the time.
Yeah.
And I never thought about taking just parts of the image to different parts of other textures and using a different blending mode. I didn't think about doing it that way.
Oh yeah, all my textures have, they're on 5 different blending modes and different opacities, and I'll blur
Yeah.
portions of them. I'll mask some off, mask some on. Just I basically paint with them. And then I bring my image forward on top of them so that it doesn't get muddy.
Why don't you do it the other way around? In other words, instead of putting the texture on top of the main image, all right, take the texture and put the main image on top of it.
I know. My brain thinks the opposite. I'm always inverting. I put on my texture, Apple key I to invert it, and then I paint on my texture.
Yeah, I tend to put the texture on top too. And
Yeah, it's just the way my brain thinks. I know you can do it actually, I think when I was watching one of my friends do it, they did it that way. And I'm like, oh, we just think backwards, ass backwards. And both ways work. It's just the way I grew up oil painting and painting, and we're always adding layers in that. So that's just kind of the way I think.
Images are beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. I know they're not perfect, but I wasn't going for perfect. I was getting to, I want to create something because I've got to do something. So now.
She was so ready for this. She just printed them this morning at 6.
so, Corinne, I don't know if you know Captain Explorer Michael. He started the Canon Explorers of Light program all those years ago.
I'm a Canon user from when I was 15 years old, and that's my dream, is to be a Canon Explorer. Is that you? Did you create that?
I created it in 1993.
Oh, congratulations.
It's not with
Thank
Canon
you.
anymore.
I'm not with Canon anymore.
Yeah.
And by the way, prior to that, I was a Nikon school instructor.
Were you really? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
You were Hasselblad when you started.
Yeah. Canon, I've never switched away from Canon. My husband did one time for a short time when digital was brand new. But you couldn't get me away from my L
We had
lenses.
the D1.
Yeah. You couldn't get me away from my L lenses.
Yeah, same here. I made the Canon decision in 1973, and I'm still with it.
Me too. Me too. And I don't know, it's something about the glass. And, every time the new lenses come out, like the 200s, 70 to 200, 2.8, we get the new versions immediately. And we usually replace our camera bodies every 2-3 years.
I'm curious, why do you do that?
Well, because the new glass, they, for the larger chip, every time they put out a new lens, it's to accommodate the larger chips in the camera. And I also update my camera, so I always have the largest chips. I don't know. My husband is the businessman, and when you sell things that are like 2 years old, they don't lose much value. And so he can sell them for a pretty good price. And then when I purchase the new one, it's not that much more. But I take really good care of my equipment. I photograph a lot in rivers. That's one reason Epson, I think, took notice, is because I take my clients down and put them in the river, and I find some of the most beautiful shots are, a lot of people take people down to a shore or something, and they'll photograph them on the bank and on the bank. Well, I find the most beautiful composition is if I'm out in the water, I pull them out in the water a little bit, put them on something to lift them up, and you get water and you get several backgrounds, midgrounds, and it's not just
Right.
a line of things. So I'm always wet and in the river, or out in Puget Sound. I love it. I don't
Yeah.
know. Makes
There's
me,
a question popped up in Facebook for Michael actually saying, what do you shoot with now? Or what cameras do you use these days?
Canon D1X 2 and 3s.
Yeah, also asking Michael the same thing.
I'm shooting with Canon.
Hmm.
I gave up on my Nikons, which I recently sold because they were very, very old,
Hmm.
along with me. I had no more use for the Hasselblad. And for whatever reason, I gave up on my 8x10 and 4x5 Sinar, although I really liked the 4x5 Sinar.
Yeah, I still have a
I'm
4x5 Cambo.
Yeah, the reality for me is that I'll be 76. I can't schlep around all that stuff anymore. I just can't do it,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Well, they make such excellent cameras small now. I just, mine's still big and heavy, but I pick up some like the new Sonys and that. And it's like, whoa, I'm gonna drop that. It's so light.
Yeah.
I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
How friendly are you with Dano?
Oh, I love Dano. I've known him for, I'm friendly with him.
Dano and I go back lifetimes ago when he was at the Great Yellow Father, Kodak.
Kodak.
Yeah, he used to be a tech guy at Kodak,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
we go back
brilliant.
a long time. I mean, I have pictures of Dano and I just goofing off
Did you know when he was at Brooks?
at the shows. The what?
Did you know when he was at Brooks? A student at Brooks?
No,
No, okay.
no,
No.
no.
Dan was
But he went to RIT.
Did he?
Yeah, he went to RIT. He's probably the only guy I know that still can remember how to process Kodachrome film.
He's brilliant, and he's a brilliant photographer.
Don't go there. Don't go there with Dano. And the other thing I want to ask you is, your printing. What size printer are you using?
I love the large format printers. I have the smaller version of the large format, the SureColor. I don't know what mod 800 maybe. But I print on SureColor 9000, the big 44-inch, and then these came off of the 9900 this morning because it was loaded with PK ink and the canvas, and it was just ready to go. I needed a
So now, I mean, the pictures, my opinion, they're beautiful. They really are. They're very fantasy-like, very dreamy-like. What do you do with those images now?
Okay, so this is not how I make my living. So we've had a studio for since 1999. And like I said, we're in the middle of changing it. It was an old firehouse. We sold it. I was tired of kind of the retail.
Boy, this sounds like Nick Vidros. He had an old firehouse.
Nick Vidros, oh my gosh, I've never laughed so hard in my life in the time. Going to Blue Man Group in New York. Oh my gosh, and Tony Corbell and Skip Cohen. Oh, those were good days. No, so what? Okay, so this is my recipe. So I have a client that will come to me. This is a senior picture, for instance. Okay, this is Brittany Hodemacher. So she wants senior pictures. So I will photograph her in the traditional way that you would photograph seniors, like they want to be photographed. They bring their own clothes, kind of like this. This is my style. It's contemporary. I let them use my clothes a lot of times because I love cashmere sweaters and collect them. But no, so we'll go do you know, 50, 60% of that. And then I set aside time for imagery that makes my heart happy. Because I was finding through the years of my photography that I was just getting kind of stuck in a rut with doing the same thing, going back, editing. I didn't have anything that looked like fine art that I wanted to work on from the shoots with those people. So I started setting aside time to be a little dramatic. And actually on this shoot, I had her come back the next morning at 7 o'clock and it was pouring down rain during this shoot. I got so soaked. And, you know, just took a quick image. I think we did a 20-minute shoot because it was so wet. And one of these, this young girl, I had a veil put on her. I have a gown designer friend.
Now, is that on canvas?
Yes, this is on canvas
Uh-huh.
and wrapped. I don't sell these gallery wrapped. I have a custom frame shop in my studio, and a lot of my income comes from the framing.
Now, are you sending the canvas right through the printer?
Yes. So I have rolls of canvas. My favorite's probably the, there's a little commercial we did last fall when Dano came out and filmed us. It's exhibition natural canvas satin. It's OBA free. So it's not a bright white and it's not a
Right.
oh, it's just a really nice natural canvas. And it holds, you know, my details stay intact and my highlights stay intact. So all the way up the gamut, my details stay in. So what a lot of times though, how I present my canvas is not wrapped like this. I will tear the edges, mount it on a board, and then float mount it with a mat around it and then frame that. Most of my clients will ask, and I feel terrible, it's because they see it everywhere, like at Costco and everywhere else. It's like, no, I don't want a frame, I just want it wrapped. It looks contemporary. And it's like, I don't like hearing that, but whatever. This was done for, Dano had them done for me in our studio when he interviewed me, and this is one of the canvases that were left over. That's why it's wrapped like that. I send most of my things to my clients out the door framed.
Another question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever tried doing what you're doing now with a smartphone?
I've used for my own work, not for my client. And what we have done is we videoed our session and included it into the presentation when my client comes in and we sit down to watch the slideshow of all the images. Yeah. My husband will insert some of the video that we've taken from the iPhone and you know, an outtake of us that, you know, can be kind of special, you know, mom and daughter hugging after. There tends to be, I bring up poignant memories and things with clients. I kind of pull them out of where they are at the moment and bring them back to childhood for a moment, or bring them forward into the future to think about why we're shooting, just to get just to emote some emotion. I talk a lot during our sessions with my clients as we're visiting, and parents are usually touched, and then the daughter will look at the mom and you get this, and it's just special, but it's fun to catch it on video.
Do you think you could get the same kind of an effect using an iPhone for the main subject and then combining,
I've tried when I use, you know, I've got the big, you know, the largest iPhone you can get.
Right.
And it distorts like you can't take a selfie with it because you look like a dog, you know, it brings your face out like that. I don't know, the perspective, I could.
Yeah, I mean, if you back up enough.
Portrait mode, and if I put it on portrait mode and scooted back, I tried that depth of field thing and I didn't like what it did. It cut out around the subject and blurred it. And I was like, well, that's fake. That's stupid, you know? But if I just took a straight shot, yeah, I could do it. I mean, and then you could work with the distortion, you know, either using free transform or in Lightroom, you know, that lens thing.
Right.
Kind of bend it back. Yeah, I have a picture of some cows that that was my other one. Cows, so we have cattle down in these fields that I just showed you. And I'm actually going to go do some fine art with the cattle. They're friendly. When you go down there, there was 36 last year. Now there's 26, but they're the same cattle that have been down there for, let's see, what's the oldest one? 15. So they know me. And see, I grew up here on this road. It's 5 families, and all 5 families own the same properties. And now the kids have come home to help the parents or grandparents. And so it's really funny because, as you know, when we grew up, we're all back. And my best friend since 4 years old, she has a home in Sweden and comes, you know, and we have a home in Greece. We also spend a lot of time in France and in Italy, but we always end up back here on this road. But no, there's cows across the street, and I really want to go do some pastorals with the cows and then pull in some of this dramatic things with the skies. And I've got some great ideas. It's just a really stinking steep hill to get down there, and it's hot. So I've been waiting for a day like today, but we'll see if I get down there.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
So are you mostly portraits now, or are you still doing weddings?
No, I stopped doing weddings. Well, it's sad to say it's when Stephen got ill with cancer in 06. And I was pretty, you know, okay, when I set out to become a photographer, I had a brain tumor I was diagnosed with, and I rode horses. And I rode horses competitively my whole life. I started riding when I was 2. And I was told that you can't ride anymore. I was losing my eyesight because of the bouncing. So it took me 2 years to sell my horse. And I was dreaming one night, and I woke up at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I asked myself, what did I want to do when I was a kid, when I was in high school? I wanted to be a photographer. There's 3 things. My horses go to the Olympics. I jump. I did 3-day eventing. Be an Olympic ski racer, downhill ski racer. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that one now. And I wanted to have a photography studio, and I love photography. And I'm like, that's it. I jumped out of bed. By 6 o'clock that night, I had spent $50,000 on camera. And my poor husband, he goes, okay, I'm just not going to say anything, because he knew I had a pasture with a couple horses worth a lot of money in it. And I promised him, okay, I'm going to go away. And when I go away, just have the broker come and pick. It's like selling your children when you have horses. I can't even talk about it right now. So I started over. I became a photographer, and thank God I met Tony Corbell and Skip Cohen and Bambi Cantrell. And Bambi is the teacher of all teachers. And she was very good to me as a youngster. I've known her since the mid 90s.
Yeah, Bambi was a guest on this show a few weeks ago. So if people go back through my archives, you can find that.
And
so is Tony.
Yeah. And we talk on the phone now at least once a week and keep in touch. And it's so funny because we're very opposite. Like, I'm a little more timid. I don't have to, I love people and I love socializing, but it takes energy for me to get out in those, like, I feel so bad when we were in New York and we did the Creative Live. I forgot to go to the after party that night. And it's still on my conscience and feel bad about it. And it's just, I don't know, but we're very different in life. That she's just a teacher of all teachers. I learned to take great imagery in really ugly places, It was awesome. So but anyways, it was a good time. And then I just learned really fast. And I grew up with a camera in my hand. So my parents bought me pro equipment when I was 14 years old. Well, Canon A1. And I understood what large aperture lenses were. I was in choir. So music is very important to me. I have a soundtrack playing in my head every minute of every day. Music is really important to me. And my choir teacher was a photographer, and he also was a ski instructor. And so he was a family friend, take me up skiing on weekends, let me use his camera. I was in choir. So when I was 15, I was like, I love this photography thing. And I would go to the horse shows with my cameras that my parents bought me, take portraits of other riders and their horses and portraits. And actually I understood light because I grew up with my mom being an oil painter. So.
Wow.
Are you friendly with Joyce Tennyson?
No, and I would love to meet her. And I adore her work. I just don't cross paths with her.
Joyce is terrific.
Yeah, do other people in here have questions for Corinne?
Please ask.
Feel free to join in.
I love to visit. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Come on, ask.
Corinne, can you talk a little bit about your encaustic process?
Sure. Okay, so to me, very important, when I work with waxes and caustic, you have to take an image that's not literal, meaning this would be a terrible image to add encaustics to because it's contemporary and literal. It's a portrait, right? So, but this one of Brinkley and I on the wall here would be an excellent one to add waxes to because it's already kind of painterly looking. I tend to, so encaustics has a resin in it that makes it real hard and sticky and turn kind of milky white. That's okay, but I usually use the golden beeswax, and then I'll mix oils in with it and maybe some color in with it, and I'll paint it on. It cracks easier, but I will mount the canvas on a masonite board, and then if you're careful with it, it won't crack. If you were to put it on a canvas like this and touch it, the wax would crack, and whereas the encaustics wouldn't as much. But they're just concoctions I came up with. I mentioned an artist that I work with in France, Camille Vognar is his name, and he's not a photographer. He comes from a whole different world and a different generation. He started back in the 70s and did book covers and was in the commercial world in New York City, and then went back to Europe. And he's very illustrative, and everything's composited. And he's got so many different layers going on. When I first saw his work in his gallery in Saint Remy, I was like, what is this? And I looked at it and I was like, I wanted to touch it. And so it's just, he layers his photographs, and he doesn't even use a pro camera, really. He can, but he usually doesn't. And it's just the waxes and torn papers, and like I'll paint on a canvas, and then I'll print on some fine art paper, or I'll use some paper I've gotten from this. Now I can get it in Santa Monica. I used to get it in London, and it's real tissue thin, and you tear it, dip it in wax, and push it on like in little squares, like maybe the hand. I said the hand is important to me here, so I might, you just build layers just like you do in Photoshop, but for real, that is tactile.
You're making a collage.
Yeah, I guess that's what it's called. Yeah, I am. And then some of them I'll hand paint. Contrast is important to me in an image. Like I would say in this, well, this is pretty monotone, so I'm happy with it. But usually you'll find something of contrast in an image that makes leaves a viewer a question. A good example of that is contrast in life. I mean, a lot of times I'll see a bird sitting on a sheep's back, or a bird sitting on a cow's back, out in a field, and it's like, that's a contrast in life. Do you know what I mean? It's natural. Right. Yeah. So I remember asking Camille one time years ago, and I'm like, okay, so this is my work, and he goes, it's so portrait. And I go, I know. Okay, well, what would you do to make it less portrait and more fine art? And of course he said he would have the girl look away from the camera and maybe a more subtle pose. But he goes, I would put a deep oversaturated red rose or something down here that kind of doesn't make sense, and oversaturate it, let it bleed out of its petals, things like that. And so I actually do that a lot now in a lot of my images. But I always think of contrast, something like something soft with something metal. Like I'm sitting on an iron stool, industrial stool. So like maybe something wispy and if I had a wispy little model and something, silky with something industrial. Or you can do your contrast with colors, your color palette. I try to do more emotional things that are contrast. And you know, in the times that we live in right now, everything's a contrast. Like my life is a total contrast because I'm in this sheltered, beautiful rural area. And if I don't turn my TV on, I don't even know what's going on in the outside world, and I'm a lot happier. And so I could take this beautiful imagery and then say I go to town and take a photograph of something and put them side by side and they were taken on the same day. There's going to be a lot of contrast in that imagery. But yeah, Bambi and I yesterday were talking about, you know, photographers are just, you know, especially wedding photographers, we just have a heart for them. I guess that's where we started out. So no, I didn't want to be a wedding photographer when I started this, but I met wedding photographers that said, I will teach you. And I said, well, good, I'll learn. And then I'll just go do my own thing. And that's exactly what I did. So for 2 or 3 years, I studied real hard and then opened the studio. And my first client came in and wanted senior pictures. And I go, what's that? I didn't have my senior pictures taken. And so, and I'm like, oh, this is a model shoot. I've got this because I had done that when I lived down on Laguna Beach. That's basically what I did. And so I got it. So senior photography kind of was what happened naturally with our Firehouse studio. And then I would offer, and I knew I was going to be expensive from the get-go. So I remember my husband saying, you don't want to be a photographer. You're not going to make any money. I'm like, well, then you're not doing it right. I'm like the Hermes bag. I'm like the Hermes bag. And my saddles, you know, my saddles for my horses would cost $10,000. And it's like, I want to be that type of saddle just in photography. And so I set out learning, and I knew I had to be good though before I offered those prices. And I knew I had to have a style and a niche. So I worked on that. Got real comfortable with everything. And then I got a phone call for a wedding when I lived in Laguna. Someone had handed out my name, didn't even have a business card yet. And they said, will you photograph my wedding? And I go, sure, where's it at? And they said, the Ritz-Carlton. It's down the street from my house. And I said, okay. And they gave me the date, and it was in August. And they go, well, okay, well, how much do you charge? And I go, well, my least expensive package is $10,000. And this was in 1998. So, you know, I just kind of pulled the number out of the top of my head. And I said, but you know, that includes a nice album, art leather album, and my coverage. And she goes, well, what if I want a second album? I go, well, it'll be $15,000. She says, okay, I'll book that one. And I hung up the phone. I went, what am I going to do? You know, so weddings aren't so bad. So we did weddings for a few years. And then my husband was diagnosed with a head and neck cancer. And the treatment is what almost killed him. And going into that, I loved doing it, but it was a love-hate relationship with it. And so now I do maybe 2 or 3 weddings a year, and it's for people that I love and know and I have a connection with.
I think you froze up. Did everyone else freeze, or just you froze up there? There, you're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, your stream froze up for a second.
Okay, where did I leave off at? Nope. Oh, my internet.
She froze up again.
Yeah, I see that. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Let's get Corinne back. Next week on Thursday, I'm going to have Lee Varys on to talk Photoshop stuff. So if you're interested in the Photoshop things. On August 6th, I have Holger Mischke, who does really great black and white photography. He's in Germany. And on August 10th, they're going to do Jack Rosnicki and copyright. But
Get off the internet.
there you go.
Am I back?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Someone was probably streaming YouTube or something and sucking it all up. No. So anyways, yes, it was an easy transition from, I was so busy as a studio anyways with portrait work. I really, letting the weddings go was easy.
Yeah. Well, we're at the top of the hour. We can go on a little more, or is there any final words anyone wants to say, either Corinne to us or us to Corinne?
You have a website.
I do, photographic essays.com.
Okay.
Yeah. it probably needs to be updated a little bit. It has a million pictures on it. I just keep adding, and I should go probably clean it up a little bit, but I love it. I don't know. It's such a journal. You know, when you've had a website for a long time, then I upload my images to it, and it's kind of nice. It's a smug mug site, and I can upload full-size images to it. So if I want to pull them down and print them, I can. But I should probably, my SEO is terrible. But I've been happy with the way I've been working. I have about 10 to 20 clients a year on the high-end side. And, you know, I have a pretty high sitting fee. So to book me, they're, you know, my client's committed. And
You know Dennis Reggie?
I know Dennis Reggie. Yeah, I'm a number 4.
Okay.
If anyone remembers that.
Did you know Monty Zucker?
I did meet him.
Okay.
Yes, I have met him. He was an acquaintance. And Andrew or Marcus, Andrew Marcus.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm skipping in New York. I miss all those days of. And see, that's when I was a new and beginner and you know, I always approach humbly to what we do. I learn something new every day. And when you approach life and people like that with a humble spirit, it's I don't know, there's a relationship that's easier to build, and everyone's so sweet. Clay Blackmore and but they're East Coast, so I don't get to see them very often. And
Well, Clay was the assistant to Monty.
Yes, that's how I met Monty, I think.
Oh, okay.
And that was, I went to Hasselblad University, and then
That's Skip Cohn.
Skip Cohen.
right, and all those speakers came in. I stayed for 6 weeks in Tucson, and like every 3 days, they brought in new speakers. Well, there was only 3 of us who stayed for the 6-week period, and then other students would come in and join us. But like I was only one of 3 that stayed the whole entire time. And so, you know, we got to go to dinner with them. We got to go out photographing in the desert. And yeah, when you're friendly, I don't know. They're just always really sweet people that I met.
It's a lot different today. It's a lot different today.
Yeah, I know. I've kind of, I've had my feelings hurt a couple times. I think I need a thicker skin. But you know, Bambi always tells me to suck it up, and my husband's really good, and it's like you can't take it personal. They're just on a different. There's people that are very ambitious. My competition in life was on a horse. That's where I competed in life, and when I came into photography, I came into it not to compete, but to create beautiful work. And I didn't know I was going to enter print competition. Arlene and Bambi said, why don't you enter print competition this year? This was like 10 years ago. And I said, okay. And I did really well. I scored, 99 and 97. And it was really fun. And the next year kind of the same, but I'm just not competitive when it comes to photography. And so.
And don't change.
Yeah,
Don't change.
Oh, I won't.
Because if you change, then your style and your softness in photography is going to change also.
I believe you on that. I really do. And I think it's important to listen to our spirit when you say that. It's like when you need a break because you're pushing yourself, especially if you have a lot of clients and a lot of workload that's just kind of burden on your shoulders.
Right.
Catch up and take care of that work. Book your clients 3 months out if you have to catch up, so that burden is lightened and your creativeness can come back and your softness. But no, I don't have the competitive spirit in me when it comes to my art. I really don't. And it's like,
there's only one person that you have to be competitive with. You know that? That's right. Please yourself.
I beat myself up. I'll cry. Stephen is like, you are so hard on yourself. And it's like, well, I want it to last forever. I want it to be perfect. When I look at it, I want it to have an expression and be, have an emotion to it. Like, I mean, I look at this one image of, let me show you this. I did. Nah, I can't pull it down. Stephen did something with it. Where'd it go? Well, there's two. Like this image.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put my little breast down a little bit. When I saw it after it was photographed, it almost made me cry because it looked like I was going to cry in the image. And that was a hard day. I hurt when you get I have a cyst in my brain, and when I get a migraine, they're terrible. I'm throwing up for 36 hours straight. I lose my eyesight. So the next day I feel like I'm really beat up. And then sometimes I can get kind of sad. I mean, I don't get depressed, but I get I just feel beat up. And so when I saw that image,
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. I love this image.
I looked at it, and again, it was shot with the 24-70, which I don't like my face in that lens.
That's beautiful. Yeah, your images are an expression of the image maker. That's what it is.
I believe, yes, yes, it is. I say I mirror my client, but in reality, when I start to mirror them, they mirror me.
Right.
Now, like, I'll see beautiful light happen, and I'm sorry, it's just so beautiful. It's like, God, you were so good to give us this beautiful light, and just like thinking of it, I get teared up. Mm-hmm. And if your client sees you do that, especially a woman, they usually reflect it. And I'll say to them, you don't understand what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is so beautiful. Now, a lot of people in this day and age that we live in feel ran over. They feel invisible. Those are my favorite clients. And if you take the time to talk to them and say, oh, if you could only see what I'm seeing right now through my lens, you are just it's gonna touch your heart. And they will give you that expression. And it's not manufactured. It's just what happens. And then opposite, if I'm having a horrible time with light, say we have glare all over the place and I start laughing, I'll usually get a lot of glimmer shots of people that are sparkly in that. But my favorite ones are the reflective ones. Now this one, the profile one, that was just kind of an outtake. I mean, Stephen, he really didn't have time to push the shutter button for me. He was like, you gotta do this on your own. I'm busy. I don't want to do this. I'm like, please, I put so much effort into just getting up and getting this thing. Will you please just, it's on the camera's on a tripod. And he took it off and he goes, okay. And, that was just it. And he took the pose, and I'm looking straight forward out into the valley. And the expression on it kind of fit where we're at today. I don't know, I can't explain it, but it looks like I'm looking straight forward and into the future. It's like I can just see where, we're gonna be okay. It's almost a determined look. When I was shocked when I pulled these up and saw them. I was like, besides the ugly background, I was like, I think I can make something that I really like out of this. And look how the light happened to just fall on the little muscles and stuff on my arm. That,
Here, I put it on the screen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the light turned out really pretty. The shadow of the hair, and none of that's composed in there, composited in there, except the backgrounds. And I love my hip bone, the arms, the elbows, the hands. Look at the light, even because it's white all in this shooting room. There's even light on the back of my hands. So I was really happy with that. But the look it's like, I'm gonna make it through this storm, I don't know, I'm always thinking. My husband yesterday, he said to me, do you ever stop thinking about art? And I'm like, no. And I go, it might help if you would talk to me about it. That's one, I think one thing I really miss is one of my favorite things to do is stay up late and talk to other artists about art. What makes art? What makes art memorable? What makes it good? What makes it great? What makes it stick in your mind? What makes you cry? What makes you laugh? And then the stories that go into the stories that go into the image making of it, whether you're a painter or whatever. It's usually other photographers I'm talking about, but I miss that. I love collaborating. That's probably my favorite thing to do. It's also the hardest thing to do because in my workshops we collaborate, and I love my workshops. My last one was a blast. I think we had about 12 people up in the mountains, and they all stayed at my house. And man, we did it all. We shot our guts out. We printed our guts out. We stayed up all night talking and picking out favorite things and talking about important things. And
You're making me think that maybe I should start an evening series of this where you can all sit around with some wine or beer or something and just chat.
it would be really good because I'm like Captain Explorer there. I love your questions you're asking me, and I don't want to hang up right now because I want to talk about art. I want to talk about.
The one thing that you just said with the questions, what is art? What is it? Art, and I'm talking about all visual art, not just photography, but sculptures and pottery, all visual art.
Mm-hmm.
It's all fluid. It never stops moving. So when you ask a question of and collaborate with another visual artist,
Right.
and they tell you, and you listen to what they're saying about what they did, that has passed already on the flow of the river, and something else is happening.
Right.
So
but you can glean from their story, and usually artists are quite articulate in, at least the ones I speak to, are articulate in what they felt and as they were making that sculpture. And it's like, we can glean from it no matter what our medium is, because it's a mindset of what we're feeling. Most artists I know are pretty
literate.
Yeah, we think we're deep. There's I don't know. I always use a description. There's people that you could read a piece of poetry to and they'll never understand it or want to. They don't want to go there to even try and understand it. And then you could read the same poem to me and it's like, oh my gosh, that just melted me inside, And then there's some poems you'll read to me and I have to discover what it means. I have to go to what the writer was trying to tell us. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you're discovering what you think the writer is trying to tell you.
Right.
Which is similar to, you have 4 prints, 3 behind you, and the one you put on, I guess, the horse alongside you, the prints that you have 4 images, the loose ones, the ones that aren't mounted. Yeah, the one that you said that you're just facing the camera head on.
Yeah.
All right, exactly. All 4 images for me are beautiful, but if I had to put them in a categorical order, the one you just put down really got to me. That is absolutely beautiful. Yep, I love it. That is absolutely beautiful. But if you ask other people how they feel about the four images, somebody else will pick another image. It's how the viewer feels at the time that they're looking.
I agree.
Oh, great.
I understand that completely. And I circle around the images that I've taken over the past and will have favorites at different times. And a lot of it is the memories that go with it. Like this girl, I mean, it's so hard for me to even her mom died not too long after this shoot, and they've been clients of mine for years. And she was a good friend of mine. When we were coming out of cancer treatment, my husband couldn't eat for a couple years, and she was into nutrition, and she actually helped me get food together that Stephen would eat. And she would sit with me for hours and just kind of talk me through the trauma that had happened, because I definitely had post-traumatic stress syndrome. Stephen was in a coma a good part of the time that he was ill, so his memory is kind of fuzzy, and he's so Greek and happy that he jumped up from being sick, Joe, and took off flying like nothing ever happened. And I held it together, and I was a rock, right? Until I wasn't. And I'll never forget the day it was, he'd been out of the hospital, and I'd turned the corner that the doctor kept saying, his oncologist saying, well, let's just pray he turns the corner. We did turn that corner, and he still wasn't well, but I knew he was going to live. And I was in the family room turning things off to go up to bed, and this song came on the TV as it was going off, and it was Return to Me, Dean Martin song from a movie that I was watching. And I went into an ugly cry that I didn't know even existed, and I melted. And it's like I let all that strength I had to have to get through every moment of every day and push through
Has to come out.
I let go of it, and I started crying. Stephen came down. He was little teeny, and he wrapped his arms around me, and he goes, from here, we're going to get better. And we did. And that was in 07. It was about a 5-year journey of getting better, but I had terrible panic attacks and things like that. And we moved up to the mountains in Cleellum for a few years, and that I was better within a month. I needed sleep. I just needed some sleep and elbow room and not to work in the studio and photograph some different stuff. And I snapped back, and I was myself again. And I wasn't in a depression. We never took time off. He got sick, was in the hospital, almost died. Stage 4, his prognosis was really grim, and he beat the odds. But I just needed I needed to live life a little bit, and I did, and got back on the horse and did fine, and we laugh every day. And yesterday was the funniest day in the world. My best friend down the street, they needed to move their fence line. The fence is 50 years old, over 10 feet. And Stephen, there was a lot of funny stories that happened yesterday about that working. But no, life is really good. Art is really good. We're in a really sad time with the world, but I'm going to pull through it, because I'm not going to stop creating. And I don't know. I think because I have had a brain tumor, I beat that. I'm like, we're just gonna make it. And we live, I hope people, just live simply. Don't carry debt. Don't get into debt. Thank God, we don't really have a mortgage. We don't have car payments. Everything's paid off. I use my Alaska Airlines credit card for everything we buy every month, personal and business, and I add up my miles. So when we travel, I can go business class, so I can sleep when we fly. But I pay those credit card bills off to zero every month. Mm-hmm. If there's things I can't afford, I don't buy them until I can afford them. And if people, it was so nice. We've lived like this for quite a long time. My husband being half Greek, half Swedish, Norwegian, he just grew up that way. You don't have debt. And so, and we keep our credit score really high. So when we do want to purchase a piece of property or something, we can immediately. And it keeps your life really easy. If people, it's not too late to think that way. If we're going into the unknown in the next couple of years, just really try and pare down things. If you have things you don't need, sell them, put the money in the bank. I know we're going off topic right now, but
Keep talking.
It's important.
Keep talking.
It's really important. And I tend to buy really fine things that last a long time, like my dresses, my furniture. I'll spend a lot of money on them, but they'll last my whole lifetime. So I don't buy throwaway things unless I really do know they're throwaway things and they're $15, you know, like cheesecloth for a shoot or something. And then I just don't, and I don't put myself in a place to be enticed or tempted. You know what I mean? And then if I am, I turn my back on it real quick. Like, no, I don't need to spend that. And I just think right now, and we do live in a society with, you know, immediate gratification, I think, in a lot of generations.
Yeah.
Try not to be that way, and try and find other things that gratify you. And I immerse myself in art. Like, I mean, this is a picture of Venice I took, you know, a couple years ago. I was on a job and played with it, you know, and I made a greeting card for a friend whose birthday it was. That, you know, I didn't plan on doing art that day, and I ended up on the computer and on my printer for about an hour, and it made me feel really good. I was like, "Ooh, I made something today." But just try and keep life simple, you know, out of debt, stay out of debt.
Mm-hmm. Great
Yeah,
advice.
May I ask two questions?
Yeah, Jim.
How many test prints do you do before you get a print that you really like? And the more important question is, are your inspirations more painters or photographers?
None of these were all first runs, so I stay really calibrated.
Mhm.
So a lot of times I don't have to do a test print, but I keep my printers cleaned. You know, I turn them on and clean the nozzles all the time.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not doing much volume, I'll turn them on and keep the things going. I calibrate my monitor not that often. It stays right on. Okay, that was one question. What was the other?
Who are your inspirations? Are they more
My
painters or
inspiration.
are they more photographers? Because there's a very painterly look to your work.
I know, but I'd say photography. Okay, now here's the thing. I don't go online and look at other people's work. Now, when I teach a workshop, I tell people that I don't know who the who's who of anybody, really. My ideas come from my own head. I mean, I have photographers I admire. Marcus, the Australian photographer, Marcus Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Busnick and his photojournalism, love that. Always have loved Bambi's work just because I understand, you know, yeah. There's a lot. Oh man.
How about artists, painters?
Oh, so many of the Dutch painters, Degas, not the abstract weird painters, but the
Impressionism?
Impressionism, Monet, you know,
Degas?
some of them I don't even know their names. And I've been through the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay so many times. You know, I do have to tell you, I went into the Museum d'Orsay and I entered the room. There's a small room. I entered and it was the Degas of his ballet dancers.
Mhm.
And I loved his work before that. But when I went in there, I'm telling you, my heart was, it was just stunning. And the paintings were small and they were close and kind of in a dark room. It was intimate. I think that's why I liked it, because it didn't feel like it was on this big show. I felt like I entered the room, a personal room of Degas.
Mhm.
So like the girl with the pearl earring, that artist, his work is great.
Now, with you saying that, I did some research and realized that a lot of the paintings from the past masters are very small. Very few of them are humongous, all right?
Right.
And then I wondered, how big do I really have to make a print in order to get the idea across of what I'm trying to say?
Right. Now, I think it can be very small.
Yeah, I like the intimacy of a small print that you can hold and bring in close to you. 8 by 10 and smaller, 11, 14 is even starting to get big. You know,
Yeah.
I like
The,
something you can hold and really get into.
the biggest one that I'll make is 13 by 19.
Hmm.
And
I'm a
some of them behind me were made by others for me.
Right. Those are
That
fun
is-
to look. Those
yeah,
are fun to look at. My most common size is a 12 by 19 that I sell to clients, and
Right.
and I have to price everything at that 12 by 19 starts at $2,900 for canvas, or for no matter what substrate or media they put it on.
Are you getting any resistance?
Well, no, because what did I push?
you're still
Um,
here.
Good. I just lost I didn't
You're,
lose.
you're here.
Okay.
We can see you.
Okay.
Command tab. Maybe you just got a window came up on top.
Well, I tried to close something.
Oh.
My text there, my brother-in-law
Oh.
was texting it. How do I get it full screen again?
There should be like a square in the upper left, upper right corner.
Oh,
You click on that. Will that bring it up?
no thumbnail video show. Ooh, I went even smaller.
Hmm.
That one. Now you're all closed up. Well, there you all are.
Okay.
But no, well, my clients pre-qualified because so when I moved up to the mountains, we sold our studios. I kind of wanted to take a break, and I knew we are going into renovating completely this house and property we're on. So I set my sitting fee anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000. So anyone who is going to book me
They already know your price.
yeah. And
Okay.
then when I had the studio, when they walked in, they knew they were going to spend a lot of money because there's, just the way I had it, the decor of it.
Just
Yeah.
want to let you know that Bambi's watching on Facebook and just said she's happy to be mentioned alongside Marcus and Joe.
Oh, Bambi's my delight. She,
So these
brought me-
images that you're calling fine art, all right? They are. But do you sell them to other people besides your clients as fine art? And how many multiples do you make?
Okay, so probably 5 numbers. And the image, yes, I have to European clients. I think in Canada, I have 3 clients that have bought imagery that's of other people. And in France and Italy, I've sold probably a total of about 20. And like the face is never showing really, it would be it's not a literal image. There's a person in it, but there's other elements in it as well. A river, a stream, part of a landscape, with some elements in it that might be kind of symbol-like. I don't know how to say it. There was a bird in a couple, and not a blackbird.
And is the price that you charge for the first one the same price that you'll charge for the 5th one? Or do they go up in price the more you sell?
Well,
Up to 5.
They've purchased them at different times, and they were different prices, but like from 2,500 to 4,000.
Okay, so they did go up in price.
A little bit, but it wasn't intentional. It was I printed it for them. They saw it and they wanted a certain size, and I said, well, that will be $4,000.
Okay.
But right now, I hate saying this in this time, but in the last couple of years, it's like each canvas is about $10,000. It's like,
Good for you.
I just tell my client, I'm kind of known for the $10,000 client, no matter what size you want it. And I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek when I'm booking them or when I'm on the shoot, but I'm preparing them for the presentation and, and what we're doing. So I've had, but then I have my clients that really can't afford me, and I love them, and I'll photograph for, $2,500, and I'll give them prints that make them happy because I know they can't afford me, but I love them and I want to work with them. Not, it's not, I'm the opposite of high volume. So I have the time to do this and I have the luxury. But when clients come to me now, My current client, is she OfferUp? I don't know. She was old Microsoft, and she sold not digital I don't know. She's done big companies and things like that. And she's hard to work with because she wants things a certain way. She understands what digital files are, and she started a digital storage company and sold it for, $150 million or something like that. So she always wants her digital files. Well, would I charge her? She can have them. So I have $120,000 clients. I have another client who her husband brought.
So you sold her the digital files?
I did, but it was a $120,000 sale.
But do you still have any clones of that file? Do you have the raw?
Yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
I gave her the raws too, but she's a repeat client, and it's like, I mean, if I knew the technology, and if I have the opportunity to make that much money and I need to, I'm going to. And she's a good client and friend now, and she's given me advice. She goes, I don't understand why you're still doing this client work. You really should be teaching. And I said, because her daughter loves photography, and so on her senior shoot, I took her out and she sees how hands-on I am and how I not only teach technically, but I teach emotionally how to get, expression in the imagery. And she was like, she has friends that run National Geographic tours and that, and she goes, you should go shoot with them. And then I looked him up and I'm like, no, I don't want to go to South Africa and be on a little ship, whatever. I'm like, that's not me. And Steven's like, yes, we do. And I'm like, no, I don't. But so I'd really like to get into educating. I don't know how to dive in, and do that. And I know it's been offered to me in the past with Arlene and George and Creative Live and that, but I don't think I knew how to step out and take advantage of that. I think it was my fault. I didn't know how to. Well, Arlene called me one time and asked me to be on Creative Live and do a fine art thing, a 2-day workshop. And I was on my way to Scotland with a client doing a senior session. And that was a $120,000 sale. So, I mean, there's sales out there to be made for, photographers, go for it. But I couldn't do it. And I think she told me to call her back in October. And then this was in the spring. And I forgot to call. So I could have called any time, I suppose, but I don't know how to. I mean, I'll put on Facebook a workshop, and I have a handful of people sign up for it, and I'm happy. And we have
online, Facebook online.
Yeah, and it's probably the tackiest way to do it. But
is the class done online or is the class done in person?
No, I'll put it up. I'm sorry, I advertise it online that I'm going to have a workshop, and. So I'll Corinne Alavekios Fine Art Workshop, and I'll call it something like Finding Neverland was my last one I did. And I'll have a handful of people sign up for it. It's really fun. And they come and we just immerse ourselves in everything. We do everything. Do you think that
you could teach online on a medium like this?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Sign her up, John. Sign her up, John.
Yeah, we'll talk about this offline. Yeah.
This is so easy. And I was thinking, I almost because it was only an hour. We didn't get. I'm telling you, I was going to pull my wax and oils out there right there. And I'm like, but we only have an hour.
Well, we're up to 90 minutes now.
Oh my God.
We'll have to do another one.
I know, but I did get that. And I'm surprised this was everyone's favorite.
I love that. That is incredible.
So, and I'm so glad I let my hair grow long on accident. I moved away and I don't have a hairstylist anymore. So my hair's down to my butt now, but I don't know. It's so expressive. And I love that my husband took it. That means a lot to me. But I want to teach online, and I watched George and Arlene yesterday, and it was important for me to watch because if anyone knows how to do it, they do. I mean, look at Creative Live, John, where you came from.
Yep.
It's, that was an online learning platform, and it's
well, something. you mentioned not getting on Facebook and stuff a lot. I just stumbled upon this thing, or maybe I got an email. I don't even know. But that's the thing. I don't see things until it's too late. So if he takes names of who was in this and reminds us, or if you know, if there's a way to tell you to contact us if you have another class, that would be great.
Well,
Go to his calendar. His calendar. And it'll remind you on the computer.
Yeah.
You really think I'm going to go and look at that?
I know. But I do try to push these out on Facebook, Instagram, and what's that other one? Twitter. A few days in advance for
I
each
don't
one.
do Twitter, and
Yeah.
you know what? I pay somebody to do my Facebook and my Instagram for me. So if I stumble upon it, I'm very lucky.
Okay, I have to figure out how to do a good mailing list.
But Cindy, are you on the computer every day?
Yes, with my work, yes, but I run a full studio, every day. I'm at the office every day, and if I get on the computer doing social media stuff, I'm in trouble.
No. But are you on a Mac or on a Windows unit?
I'm on a Windows unit, and I'm like color correcting or retouching now while this is on, and I just listen.
Okay, so here's the deal. John sent me, or there was something on John's site that said, click on this and it'll automatically go to my computer's calendar. Okay, I did it. And it shows all the different dates that he's got going. Last night, before I shut down, a sign came up on my computer screen. I mean, I was on Facebook, I was on Windows, but a little sign came up saying, "You got this Zoom thing tomorrow at 1 o'clock."
Yay! Right, that's how mine did it.
Yeah.
It's just finding that people are. I don't go searching for classes or searching for things. It has to kind of hit me in the head.
And
Well, that's what it does.
I don't know how to do that. I'll put it out on Facebook for, I advertise it, and I don't even use Facebook. Well, no, I do. I scroll through it like a newspaper a few times a day, but my algorithms are down because I don't know. I don't know how to get my algorithms up. I'll post pictures here and now, but I do like people's work, and
Yeah, I'll work on a way to figure out how to get it out there more, or set up a mailing list or something.
But I really like to travel to learn. I mean, because I get inspired when I'm somewhere else, and I put everything else down when I go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't travel now, so what? So
yeah, it's going to be.
No, but I'm telling her, if in the future, I've gone to England, I've gone different places. Hey, I'll travel.
And I teach abroad.
Yes, and that's what I love.
Yeah, I teach with a group in Italy that has workshops, digital. I don't know what number they're on now, but those are schools that contact me, or workshops that contact me and say, hey, will you come and be a master? And I'll say, yeah. But I love doing my own here in our States. But
well, that's what I would like, a nice quiet space. But my husband, his family is from Malta. And so we've always said, okay, if we get a chance to do Malta and there's something sort of in lower Italy that, we could cross over, we could kind of, write off the trip and that kind of thing.
That's cool. I have friends in Southern Italy. I need to plug my computer and it's going to go dead.
I need to run, but I want to thank you for the great photos and a great conversation. And my favorite is the one with your dog. These others are very good, but your one with your dog I thought was really spectacular.
Yeah, and that's my Brinkley baby. I have 3 Goldens, and he's the oldest of them. And they're all young at heart, though, and they're all doing great.
Well, I'm actually going to have to end this soon because I do have a dentist appointment in about a half an hour, but it's only a 5-minute walk away. So, but anyway, I just want to thank everyone.
Explorer, where can I find you to become friends with you online?
Michael Newler, Newler, at yahoo.com.
Yeah, I'll send an introduction email to both of you.
Okay, well, I just found you. Michael Newler, there you are. On Facebook, I found you. I just sent you a friend request.
And I have a website. It's www.newler.photo.
Okay.
I think you'll like looking at some of the stuff that I've taken.
I will too. And just know also that I do fine art, but I make a living taking portraiture also. So today's segment was on fine art.
I used to also, but I've been dealing with cancer for the past 18 years.
What type? I'm sorry.
It was metastasized colon cancer that went into my lung and into my liver.
Okay.
Huh, we must have run out of room on the
Corinne,
recording.
You look healthy, Captain Explorer.
Thank you so much. I
Good.
appreciate
Hey, Corinne,
it.
I just wanted to
I love
say
your work.
thank you.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I've been muted and camera off because I'm trying to work on a ton of different projects that I continually work on. But having been in this industry all my life and knowing all the same people you know, and
Really?
I ran Phase One, I ran Color Labs, I had big studios, and now I run a big website for photographers called PhotoPXL. Anyway, nice presentation, beautiful photography. Just wanted to say that. And,
Thank you, Kevin.
sorry, it was one of those silent, unparticipatory days, but lots going on.
That's
No.
okay. Join us on Monday, Kevin.
Hi,
Try to.
Thank
Hi,
you,
Corinne.
Sue.
It's Sonia calling. Sonia speaking.
Yeah.
Hi. I was also working on stuff but listening, and thank you all. This has been so good.
Yeah.
Corinne, you're an amazing teacher.
Oh, well, you were an amazing student, and I just, yeah, just one of the. This has been really good, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, John. Love you. You're so sweet.
Thanks.
Okay, Sonia, Kevin.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.